Hi, my name is Danielle Schnitzius, and I'm going to be presenting on the book After the Fall by Dan Santat. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about plot and themes of the book, and then I'm also going to go into illustrations and some background knowledge about the book. So to begin with the plot, so After the Fall is about Humpty Dumpty, and he has this favorite place to sit, which is really up tall on this big wall. Obviously not a great place for an egg to sit, but it's his favorite, until one day he falls off and shatters into a whole bunch of pieces. Thankfully, in the story, he was able to be fixed at the hospital by all the king's men, and he was put back together, and he thought everything went back to normal. Unfortunately, after this, he developed a fear of heights, and this fear held him back from a lot. So he wasn't able to get his favorite cereals at the grocery store because they were too high up. He wasn't able to do a whole bunch of different things. But then he started looking at the birds, and he decided he would make a paper airplane, and he really liked how that flew up in the birds, and he said it was similar to sitting on the wall. Unfortunately, again, his plane flew over the wall, and Humpty had a choice to make whether he went to go get the plane or he stayed safe on the ground. Humpty obviously made the right decision by going over the wall, and he got his plane back, and he also conquered his fear of heights. So that's the overview of the plot. Now, there are some really cool themes within this book, and a first one is getting back up again. So Humpty got back up again, he went over the wall, conquered his fear of heights, all because that's what he needed to do. That was the right decision. Another theme is that fear holds you back. So Humpty developed this fear, and he wasn't able to do his favorite things anymore because that fear held him back. Another theme is to always try again. So always get back up, always try again, and that comes from one of the best quotes in the book, which is, "Life begins when you get back up." So overall, it's a story about trying again and conquering your fears and not letting you be held back by things. So the illustrations in this book are actually really cool. If you look at them, they're just so artistic and creative. It's awesome. And these are actually made by the same person who wrote it. So Dan Santat wrote and illustrated After the Fall. So some background to this book: it was written and illustrated by Dan Santat, like I said, and it was published October 3rd of 2017. Santat is a Caldecott Medal-winning and New York Times best-selling author and illustrator, and has illustrations published in many books beyond children's literature, so like chapter books, young adult books, things like that. This book received 9 awards and has been featured in many articles, including the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. A quote from the Wall Street Journal is, "Santat gives full weight to the power of fear, which can daunt anyone who has been injured before, showing Humpty Dumpty's eventual triumph and an inventive ending that is nothing short of exhilarating." And then the New York Times said, I was so genuinely surprised by the book's conclusion that I won't spoil it. It's always gratifying to see how an artist can turn even the most familiar tale into something new." So those are some good reviews from some articles. And then the final part of background that I want to leave you with is my favorite part of reading and researching this book. So obviously it's a story about getting back up again and conquering your fears. And at the beginning of the book, we see that Santat dedicated this book to his wife. And she was actually the inspiration behind the entire writing of the book. So she had struggled with anxiety for most of her life, and she tended to avoid things so that she wouldn't be triggered, and so that she could move past her anxiety. She just wouldn't do things. She would avoid them completely. She then had children and got married, and this caused more anxiety. And it got worse because she realized how much she was missing out on by avoiding all of these things. And after having her kids, she got postpartum depression as well. And after this, her life was in shambles, so she finally sought help. She got on medication, and she overcame all of her struggles. And they are now living a great life. And Santat was so inspired by this that he wrote the book about her. So thanks for listening. That is my little presentation on After the Fall by Dan Santat.